Hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday. If nobody tells you, but that God loves you, Christ loves you, and I love you as well. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. On the way to get the baby, so y'all know what that is. Make sure you subscribe to the Taking Home podcast where I talk about professional wrestling topics, and I put in my matches as classic outfit professional wrestler of 13 years. Today at 5 o'clock, there's a be the premiere of the Trick or Treat Triple Threat Gauntlet. What a tongue twister that I was a part of at IPW yesterday in Richmond Park. So make sure you watch, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. That is me and my wife's professional wrestling company. Our next show, February 21st. Big business, B-I-G business. But also during that time, get your tickets. They're available on Eventbrite now. They're $5 off, but they'll be $5 more at the door. Bars. You can also watch previous matches from previous shows. We just had Fright Night at the beginning of the month, so make sure you watch that, comment, subscribe, and everything. And all good. Lafayette in the building. Wrench Syndicate. What's going on, Robert Brown? What's going on, brother? God bless you. I wanted to talk about like one of the biggest things that people are assuming, and is on the rumor mill. Wrench Syndicate, yes sir. It's Chris Jericho. So, Chris Jericho hasn't been on AEW television in a while. Some people know or assume that his contract is up. Sidebar. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sidebar. Don't y'all miss the times when people could just do a debut and people would be just happy to see them? Like, never would I have thought that years down the line, people will make articles about people's contracts. Oh, their contract is up. Oh, they're not signing. Oh, WWE isn't signing them. Like, it's different if the wrestler is saying it. But when these quote-unquote news outlets, and I use that so loosely, come out of nowhere and be like knowing these people contracts and stuff because of what he said, she said, and stuff like that. Man, y'all just remember when he would be like, dang, what is Chris Jericho doing here? Nowadays, everything is so open with these allegations and stuff. People's contracts just be public knowledge, and you just got to be careful with that. I mean, even look at the Andrade situation that's going on. But going back into it, Jericho has not been in AEW. Okay, Punky, you got to get up out of here. That's not what we're here for. Anyway, Jericho. Now, Jericho has been a big major thing in pro wrestling, not just AEW, not just WWE, but in pro wrestling. Like, a lot of people molded their charisma, their character, their moveset after him. Mind you, Jericho molded his after Shawn Michaels. But Jericho has become his own self. I think that Jericho is also a great example of how in WWE, especially in WWE, on how you can change your character and it works. I say that more in WWE than AEW because I do feel like a lot of the stuff that he was trying to do was marketable. Some of it worked, some of it did not. It was just like, okay, you're doing too much. In WWE, before he left and stuff, I felt that was good. The Y2J and you just made the list and all of this other stuff. You know, even the stuff that he was doing on the independents and in ECW and stuff like that, he stood out. And a lot of people still look up to him, and he is a surefire Hall of Famer, regardless of how people feel about his antics on and out of the ring, in and out of the ring, for sure. What's going on? What's going on? But still, if Jericho was a big part of AEW, low key, Jericho was one of the reasons that sold me to start watching AEW when it first came out. Because I remember Bubba Ray had his podcast and he interviewed Jericho, and the way Jericho was speaking about it, and it wasn't like I was against AEW from the jump or anything like that. I just think the way he said it, hey, you get to see some new stuff, you see mixed talent, you see a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that like he sold it very, very well, very professional and stuff like that. Going back into Jericho's career, if there was anybody's career I would probably want to mold it after, Jericho would definitely be one of the ones, because Jericho has done almost everything he wanted to do. And I only say almost because I don't know him. I don't know if he wanted to do everything, but if he's done everything, that's definitely, you know, he was a wrestler, he's an author, he's a musician, he's done a whole bunch of stuff. He does a cruise line that he does. Shout out to Zach. He goes with his family and stuff like that. He does a whole bunch of stuff. Anything that Jericho wanted to do, he did. Right? So I do feel like his career should be studied. I remember looking at the DVD that he had when the network was doing the DVD stuff, and I was just so inspired because he wanted to do so much, and he got to do so much. You know, he worked hard and he made it. So I will say that about Christopher Jericho. Him and AEW, it was hit and miss. He was the first AEW World Champion. I felt that Hangman should have been, not because I like Hangman or anything like that, just the fact of WWE has done a thing where they give belt to legends, and Jericho was a legend before he stepped foot in the AEW ring. I did feel like Page would have been an okay, but however, they were doing what WWE does. Ratings. We want ratings. We want the ratings. Everybody remembers Jericho. A lot of people still know who Chris Jericho is to this day. If you stop watching wrestling, you know what Chris Jericho does and who he is and stuff like that. So they gave it to Jericho. Jericho's song, Judas. Very popular song. You would come out to it, everybody singing it. I become man. I become man. Judas in my mind. Hey, had the crowd rocking. He didn't even have to play the song. They was just singing and stuff like that. You know, I know he did stuff in Japan. He was like the pain maker or the pain whatever and stuff like that. Some people liked it. It was okay. Sidebar, I do remember like that was like a big announcement when it was Kenny versus Chris Jericho in Japan. Because people was like, man, we ain't never think that we would even see something like that, because people felt like Jericho would stay loyal to WWE and he wouldn't go to New Japan, or let alone he wouldn't go to face King Omega. Painmaker, thank you, Painmaker. So some people like that. It was alright to me. It was okay to me. But still, Jericho was a superstar in AEW. To the fact he had his own stables. It was the Jericho Appreciation Society. Then it was like the Inner Circle, which is like intertwined with the Pinnacle. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. Like, he's done stuff that was cool in AEW, and I felt like he's done stuff that he was just doing too much. I felt like just like, hey, you Chris Jericho, you can do anything, so we'll allow you to do it. Now, like, it just didn't work. Like, you know, he said a little bit of the bubbly, and everybody took that, and it was like a meme for a little bit of the bubbly. It was shirts made, it was t-shirts, it was posters and stuff like that, a little bit of the bubbly. He had a list of the champion, a list of the champion, you know, because he was a champ and stuff. He tried to bring that magic, and it just wasn't the same. He had musicals. He did musical spots with MJF. He had an orange juice match with Orange Cassidy, where he lost and was into the juice. It wasn't orange juice, it was more like tame. But still, I heard he allegedly may stay with AEW. And that could be it too. This was just a rumor, right? See, and that's the thing about the situation. I do think that he loves what he does in AEW. However, I did feel like he would return. I don't know when to WWE. Maybe when he was done wrestling, because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Surefire. I don't think he's really done anything to make WWE like not give him that nod at all. But still, Mimosa, it was the Orange Cassidy. Like, that match was stupid. But still, if he stays with AEW, cool. If he's in WWE, cool. I know a lot of people think they saw that video of somebody walking in some Stacey Adams just walking, and some people was like, oh, that gotta be Jericho. And then some people like, maybe it's Gunther. Gunther's coming back. Or maybe it's even Vince. Like, you just never know what it is. I don't think it's Vince. But still, it'd be awesome if Jericho, kind of crazy if he showed up today on Monday Night Raw. I don't know. But still, good afternoon, Austin. Hope everything's going great with you. But still, I remember when he won the ROH title, he was calling himself the Ocho. I was like, okay, this is kind of corny. Like, what's going on? Stable after stable, and certain things, and certain stuff was just corny. One of my things that I did like that he did do was the labors to go against MJF, because MJF did the same thing with Cody. And then he would dress up like Lionheart or the Painmaker or certain things. I like that kind of stuff. I remember he had the match against Juventud Guerrera. Wasn't good, but it was kind of cool to see like WCW guys who had a feud back in the day. I agree with anything Chris Jericho should have went over. And that's another thing too. I think Jericho tried to do what he did in WWE a lot of the times, but I think he had more control over it and I don't think he did well, honestly. We know that like around the last few times that Jericho would return, he would actually put over guys, even if they were new, old, or whatever like that, and that was supposed to help people. Remember, Fandango, Jamie Curtis, I think that was his name, his real name, Tough Enough winner, ballroom dancer guy. He defeated Chris Jericho at a WrestleMania. Jericho would lose to a lot of people, and I think that Jericho was just trying to help people in WWE. I think it worked. AEW, I don't think it helped that much. I don't think it helped that much because he was just consistently doing stuff. Action Andretti, you know, he's teaming with Leo Rush now. Shout out to him. But at first they made it seem like a big deal that he beat Jericho. But then Jericho would eventually beat him, and Andretti would lose a lot of other stuff too. Eddie Kingston, that one was an actually interesting storyline. It was very, very interesting because Chris Jericho was like, Eddie, you will never beat me. You're not a good wrestler. And if you do beat me, I'll shake your hand. Eddie Kingston beat him. He tapped him out, and Jericho never shook his hand. And they wound up going into a feud where basically Jericho won at the end. How was that supposed to help Eddie? Now, I'm not even a big fan of Eddie, to be honest. I like his promo skills. I like that he's a great motivational speaker for AEW. But he's definitely one of those guys that probably doesn't take criticism very well off of what he says online about certain things. You know, hey, be safe. Hey, take care of yourself. No, I'm going to do this way. I'm going to do it that way. He's a great talker, but still, I did feel like if y'all wanted to make him more into the main event scene like y'all would try to portray him, y'all should have definitely had him beat Jericho in this feud. Then Blood and Guts came involved, and then all this other stuff about him wanting to set Jericho on fire. It didn't even go nowhere. It went nowhere. Hook beat Chris Jericho. Will Ospreay beat Chris Jericho. And it's like and at this point. I felt like not all of his L's, but some of the L's, it was just like, that's not helping them at all. Because I did feel like Jericho was just doing anything. Hi guys, remember that? Like, what the heck? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You got a deep, yo, yes sir. This is a old shirt, but yeah, it's definitely. I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. I grew up watching playing the Budokai games and things like that. I bought Sparking Zero. That was a decent game. A lot of people was like, oh, it's supposed to be like a tribute to the old Budokai stuff. It didn't have the Budokai magic, and even the gameplay when you switch it's not the Budokai magic. I just felt like low-key, as fun as it definitely was a game they put together. I took the time out, me and my son, we watched Dragon Ball Super. I could see why people was upset with Dragon Ball Super. One, sidebar, sorry guys. One, because they really was trying to make Krillin more credible than what he was. Like, he faced Gohan, where they was like, if you out of bounds, you lose. And he somehow tricked Gohan, who's way more stronger and stuff. And then they try to have Goku be what? Super Saiyan God go against Krillin, who was just a human and stuff, because they was prepping him for the Tournament of Power. That was horrible. It was just booty juice. I was like, I didn't like that. I was like, we know that Krillin could not take these guys out. You could just say, hey, we're going to pick you for the Tournament of Power and then train him or something. But to act like he was as equal as Gohan was crazy to me. Excuse me. Some of the animations was off on it too. Some bad animations and stuff. Some of the stories was just crazy. It was a lot of filler. Just didn't like. But still, other than that, Dragon Ball Super ruined Trunks. Yeah, they ruined Trunks. One, because they made his hair blue. Two, it was like, okay, I'm going to go get Goku and I'm going to go get Vegeta to come fight my own battle. And Goku Black, by the way, I actually liked him as a villain. That was a good what if. I know people said Turles or Turles or whatever his name was supposed to be a what if, but I think Goku Black was a little bit better about the what ifs and stuff like that from a different timeline. And then even like Vegeta like kind of punking Trunks out saying like, how dare you just be happy with me and Goku beating up this guy for you. You need to fight your own battles and stuff. But he still needed them at the end of the day to fight his battle with him until he had got the sword and stuff. Yeah, also, I'll say this too. Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God and all of that, power level just went out the window when it went to that. It was just like, okay, we don't even care. We don't care that you're a Super Saiyan God. You're going to get nerfed by somebody that's a Saiyan 1 because they just stronger and stuff. Like, I can understand why people got upset with Super. for sure. Turtles was, yeah, referring, yeah, was it Turtles? Because I heard people say Turles, but I think it's Turtles. Krillin side fighting side by side going as a kid was one thing, but yeah, man, it was kind of crazy. Okay, Hobbit, that's what you are, a short person. Shout out to you. But anyway, still going back into it, yeah, Super. I can see why people was upset with Super and was like, "How is that canon?" I didn't watch the new one. Is it Daima? I don't know what that is. I'll watch that eventually, and I'll let you know. Turles is pronounced. Okay, Turles. Okay, I'm saying Turtles. Turles. Okay, thank you, Rob Brown. But still, Jericho is definitely, I definitely think that he has a lot more misses than hits in AEW. But people love Jericho so much, that's why people don't mind it. They'll let him do what he wants because he is in legend status, just like Cena is in legend status. You know, it'd be crazy if Jericho was Cena's last opponent. That'd be very interesting to see. That's what it is. Jericho just can't hear. Yeah, that's what I felt. I felt AEW was grateful for Jericho being involved in AEW. So they was like, hey, why don't you just do anything you want? And I do feel like there was a lot of stuff that he shouldn't have done. Also, if he doesn't show up, maybe it'll be because Punk doesn't want him there. But obviously, I don't think that. I think Punk has pull, but I do think that as long as they're not around each other, it'll be okay. Because we know about the rumors of Jericho calling CM Punk a cancer to the locker room because of the situation that happened with the brawl off fallout, you know, with the Bucks, Kenny, CM Punk, his friend. I forgot his friend's name. He's a good friend. Slips in my mind. But still, you know, and they were saying, like, basically it's CM Punk's fault. And I'm like, it literally wasn't his fault, but okay, I guess. Like, him choking Jungle Boy, definitely his fault. Shouldn't put his hands on him, but still, you know, leave the man alone, the man in his locker room, but then y'all want to confront him in the locker room. So, Ace Steel, Robert Brown with 5,000 points. Thank you, man, because I was about to call him Rex. Rex Steel. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Oh my gosh, these comments is just crazy. But anyway, but still, you know, I think if he does go, it'll be a big thing. Will it be a huge blow to AEW? I wouldn't say that much, only because he hasn't been on AEW television for a while. But it will be a blow because I do feel like Jericho was a big part and driving force to AEW and stuff like that. I wouldn't say they're hurting without him because, you know, I do know that the ratings have went down and people be like, oh, well, ratings ain't everything. And it's not, but still. I remember he called himself, the demo guy, saying like, hey, that we get more of a demo 18 to 49 demographic than WWE, so that's the ones that count, and that drove everybody to believe that. So they was like, oh, well, what's the demo? Like, low-key is a game changer and a trendsetter, because I do remember people was like, oh, well, yeah, WWE has more ratings and more people watching it, but when it comes to the demo that counts, that's what matters. Like, it was to the point that wrestling chats and channels was like, hey, AEW got 900,000 views, and they got like a 10% demo, 18 or 49 demo. If anything, they need to put the world title on Jericho if he returns. That'd be interesting, but I don't think that they would do that. Because I don't want to say the title picture is confusing, but I think it's just so much going on. Excuse me. I mean, that'll be an interesting thing for sure, but I don't think they'll do that. If anything, if he does come back, he's probably going to face some of the younger guys and help them and stuff like that. The stuff that he tried to do in AEW. I think the thing with AEW was they needed to tell him no sometimes. He can be a locker room leader, but you can tell locker room leaders no. And I think that that's what the problem was. I think that they just had a hard time telling him no because of the expertise and how long he's been been in the business day in and day out. You get what I'm saying? So I do feel like that. If he is in AEW, sure, he's going to continue to do what he wants. He's getting paid a lot of money and stuff. But me, I do feel like it's probably like, hey, man, I've made enough money. I can just do anything I want to. If Jericho doesn't even sign with AEW, if he didn't re-sign, he can do anything. You know, my thing is, doesn't matter. If I watch it, I watch it. If I don't, I don't. I just wanted to speak about it because that is like a big news thing, right? I remember even when like MJF contract was up, and then AEW it was only AEW Oh, the bidding war 2024. It's the bidding war. It's the bidding war. Oh, the bidding war. Who's going to bid for MJ? WWE wants to send him a contract. WWE. Oh, like AEW was the only one speaking about it. WWE ain't say nothing. And even if WWE did, they wouldn't say they sent him a contract. So of course he was going to sign to AEW because we already knew he was going to be signed to AEW. Oh, the bidding war. Like nobody cared about that bidding war. If WWE wants you, they want you. That's it. Off topic, what you think the future saga with Future? What do you mean with the future? Is you talking about the one where he died with one arm, when the androids beat him, or future saga? Because I don't know if that's what you're referring to. Let me know. That was a sad saga, but it was a believable saga, though. Yes, when androids defeated Gohan. I liked it. It was sad. Obviously, there was basically Trunks comes from a future that where everybody died, everybody lost. Like. He came back stronger and killed the androids. I actually like that. That was good part of the story, especially him being from the future. His future wasn't that great. And I actually did like what he spoke to when he spoke to current Trunks of the timeline and spoke about it and stuff. But now it's like even after his storyline, they're going back to the past to be a part of a story of his future where there's going to be another Trunks in May or Mai. But they're going to be in hiding or something like that. Like, it's kind of crazy. He should have just stayed there. He should have just stayed with his dad and his mom and stuff like that. It would have been weird, but still. He should have just stayed there because his future is just not that good, and it's unfortunate. But that storyline was pretty good. I actually liked the storyline. It was like the relatable thing. Like, everybody died. Like, the androids were strong. Like, we forget that we forget how Android 13 mopped the floor with Super Saiyan Vegeta, broke his arm and everything. And then when everybody tried to jump in, they got jumped out because 17 was killing them too. He was getting on them. So we forget that. We forget about that. Them androids was menaces. I mean, even look at their involvement in the Tournament of Power. Android 17 was the final one, and he was the one holding up with Super Saiyan God Blue Goku. Goku was tired. Androids don't get tired. I don't get tired. That's exactly how Android 17 was. And that was believable in itself, though. You know, 18 broke the arm. 18 was the woman, 17 was the man. But yeah, 17, he was the last one in the Tournament of Power because Goku and Frieza had to take out Jiren, had to do a 2-for-1 special. Do you think that Goku should have reappeared and saved Gohan? Nah, I liked how the storyline was. I think they should have just kept it how it was. Like, to me, I'm not big on future timelines and saving stuff and all of that. I got tired of when I watched The Flash on the CW because they kept doing that. They kept changing stuff. They kept rearranging stuff. They kept doing it, and it was just like, I don't like it. But even back then, I was fine with that kind of story, you know. You get a lot of trolls today, yeah. It's always something. It's the same, probably the same one. It's the same thing they said. Sorry, sis had the phone, cousin had the phone, sorry, this and that, and they all saying the same thing. But still, going back to the Jericho situation. Yeah, I mean, if he there, he there. If not, he not. That's how I feel about it. But I do feel like, you know, that'll get everybody talking. Obviously, I'd speak about it again because I'll watch the video and I'll see if he says anything or even if he shows up in AEW. But that's like one of the biggest things that people are talking about. They're definitely, outside of Cena's retirement coming real soon and right around the corner, they're all talking about Jericho and what he's going to do. Can Jericho be a valuable asset to WWE with the current climate? Sure, because a lot of people still like and love Chris Jericho. So even if he goes against older wrestlers and stuff like that, it'll be good. I can see him doing good segments with Jey Uso, with the Yeets and stuff like that. I can see him calling somebody a stupid idiot and then everybody laughing. I can see him feuding with Cody. because they had bad blood in AEW and stuff like that. He's the reason why Cody couldn't compete for the world title there. So I could even see that kind of stuff happening. I could see him going to either brand. Heck, I could see him showing up at NXT doing certain things. I could see him doing a lot of things. I think that, especially in WWE, Chris Jericho was a great role player. AEW, I think he was just trying to be a leader. And like I said, some of the stuff hit or miss. But I think he's a great role player in WWE. I think he can do great stories and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of any like bad matches he had since he's returned for the umpteenth time in WWE. Like people was begging for him versus CM Punk at one time. The best in the world versus the king of the world, or the best in the world at what he does. You know, that's what, everybody was looking forward to that. People was looking forward to AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho. Remember Y2AJ? Remember that? the short-lived team, Y2AJ. Don't worry, you got time. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Don't worry, you got time. Appreciate you. How would you book Jericho if he returned? Like I said, if anything, he could go against Cody. He can run it back with Punk. He can do stuff with Jay. He can do anything he wants to, as long as y'all guide him right. And I think that AEW did not guide him right with what they had. Now, if he does come back to AEW and show up, I do think that maybe he should be going into a retirement angle or something. But still, I do feel like being more disciplined will get a better character and better work from Jericho instead of being comfortable. I'll say this, for example. A lot of people love Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's running New Japan because he had to learn how to speak Japanese. He had to learn the culture. He lived out there. That was his home. He lived out there. Him and Okada done had so many matches and stuff like that. And at one point, my homie Mark was like, I didn't know much about Kenny Omega, but he was like, you need to watch this. You need to look at the stories and stuff. And I watched the matches. I ain't watching them no more. The matches was like an hour 30. That's crazy. I love wrestling, but I really for an hour and 30 minutes, god dang. But still, a lot of the stuff that he did there for the most part was discipline, because they don't play certain things outside of him, going against the girl and the blow-up doll, I believe, or was that somebody else? It was a whole bunch of stuff. When he went to AEW, he was just playing around. 69 me, Don, 69 me, and all of this stuff. And y'all remember that exploding barbed wire match that didn't explode? Like, come on, man. Like, it was just a lot of stuff. But it's not just him. It was the elite. It was a lot of these guys just making a lot of money, just trying to do stuff and wasn't taking the game seriously. So, what's going on, Life in MPs? AJ Styles and Jericho. The program sucked. It started off good. I didn't think that they needed to be a tag team. They didn't need to be. We didn't need the Y2AJ shirts. They was only a tag team for about a weekend, and then Jericho turned on AJ. Like, why did y'all do that? It didn't equal no tag thing. I don't think they needed to tag at all. It was just crazy. But yeah, Jericho has a lot of options in WWE, honestly. If he goes to AEW, I don't think he has a lot of options. He just doesn't. He'll just be there. I know that people who are fans of AEW would want to see Jericho back because Jericho is like the backbone of the company. But who knows? We'll see. Jericho hasn't been very vocal about where he's at and stuff like that. I don't follow him on social media, so I don't know what he's been posting and stuff like that. But like, everybody thinks those, not everybody, but a lot of people think those shoes belong to Jericho. But I say it can belong to anybody. It's just black shoes and slacks. Who knows? I don't think you should be driving while using the phone. Yep, that's why it's hands-free. But I definitely understand. Most of the time, my eyes are on the road. But I definitely understand, because that is something my own mom would say, for sure. So, shout out to you, Henry. I'm kind of parked now, so I'm much safer. And I'm not saying it's a troll or disrespect or nothing. I'm not disagreeing with you. I definitely understand, because one time I went live and my mom called me and was like, hey, you need to calm down. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. Why he stole my lights? So I hope all is well. But yeah, I just wanted to speak about that for a little bit, and I didn't want to see your thoughts, you guys' thoughts. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm at my children's school to pick them up. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.